My beloved child, stop everything you are doing and listen carefully to what I am about to tell you. Put down your phone, turn off the noise, silence the distractions that compete for your attention. What you are about to hear is not just another spiritual message. It is a divine revelation about something crucial that happened today. Something you missed. Something that could have changed everything. Every word has been written with love and divine intention, crafted specifically for this moment, when I need to open your eyes to see what you could not see before. The angels themselves pause their songs to hear this conversation between us. Do not let anything pull you away, for I am about to show you how I was speaking to you today, in ways you did not recognize, sending you signals you did not perceive, offering you opportunities you did not take. This is not a message of condemnation but of revelation, not of punishment but of preparation, not of judgment but of gentle correction that leads to greater sensitivity to my voice. My precious child, there was a moment today when I reached out to you, and you did not see my hand. There was an instant when I spoke to you and you did not hear my voice. There was a divine opportunity I placed directly in your path, and you walked right past it without recognizing my fingerprints upon it. I am not telling you this to make you feel guilty, but to awaken you to a reality that could transform your entire relationship with me. I communicate with you constantly, beloved, but not always in the ways you expect. You listen for my voice in the dramatic moments, in the quiet times of prayer, in the scriptures you read during your devotional time. But I also speak to you in the ordinary moments, through seemingly random encounters, through unexpected delays, through circumstances that appear coincidental, but are actually divine appointments orchestrated by my loving hand. Today, I sent you a signal through that person who smiled at you in the grocery store line. They were carrying a burden I wanted you to notice, a need I wanted you to meet, a heart I wanted you to touch with my love. But you were distracted by your phone, hurried by your schedule, focused on your own concerns. You missed the divine appointment I had arranged between your life and theirs. I sent you another signal through that delay in traffic, that unexpected interruption in your plans, that moment when everything seemed to slow down around you. It wasn't an inconvenience, it was an invitation. I was creating space in your day for something more important than your agenda. I was giving you time to notice, to pray, to be available for what I wanted to do through you. But you spent that time frustrated instead of focused, anxious instead of available. The signal came again through that conversation that seemed to take an unexpected turn, when someone mentioned something that stirred your heart, when a need was expressed that you had the resources to meet, when an opportunity to make a difference presented itself in casual dialogue. I was speaking through their words, moving through their circumstances, inviting you to be my hands and feet in their situation. But you heard it as mere conversation instead of divine communication. Even in your moments of struggle today, when things didn't go as planned, when obstacles appeared in your path, when challenges arose unexpectedly, these too were signals from me. Not punishment, but positioning. Not problems, but preparation. I was trying to redirect your steps towards something better than what you had planned, something more aligned with my purposes for your life. The email that arrived at just the right moment, the text message that came when you needed encouragement, the song that played on the radio with lyrics that seemed to speak directly to your situation. These were not coincidences, precious one. These were carefully orchestrated signals from heaven, divine communications wrapped in ordinary packaging, messages from my heart to yours delivered through the everyday moments of your life. But here's what breaks my heart. You have been trained by a noisy world to miss the subtle ways I speak. You have been conditioned to expect me to shout when I prefer to whisper, to demand attention when I prefer to invite it, to force my way into your awareness when I prefer to wait for you to notice my gentle presence. Today's missed signal was not the first, and unless something changes in your spiritual sensitivity, it will not be the last. But I am speaking to you now to awaken within you a new level of awareness, a heightened sensitivity to my voice. an increased ability to recognize my hand at work in every moment of your day. I want you to understand that every signal I send carries with it not just communication, but opportunity. Every divine moment I create offers not just information, but transformation. Every heavenly touch upon your earthly circumstances provides not just awareness, but advancement toward your destiny. The signal you missed today was connected to a larger plan I have for your life. It was a piece of a puzzle I am putting together, a thread in a tapestry I am weaving, a note in a symphony I am composing through your obedience to my leading. But do not despair, beloved. Missing one signal does not disqualify you from receiving the next one. My grace covers your oversight, my mercy extends beyond your mistakes, and my love remains constant despite your spiritual insensitivity. I am patient with your learning process, understanding of your human limitations, and committed to teaching you how to recognize my voice in every situation. My beloved child, you have been looking for me in the burning bush, when I am often found in the gentle breeze. You have been waiting for the dramatic revelation, when I am constantly revealing myself in the mundane moments of your everyday life. Today I want to teach you how I speak through the ordinary circumstances, common encounters, and regular rhythms of your daily experience. I speak to you through people, precious one. Every person who crosses your path carries the potential to be a messenger from heaven. The cashier who takes extra time with your transaction may be slowing you down because I need you somewhere else at a different time. The colleague who mentions their struggle may be giving you an opportunity to be my comfort in their distress. The stranger who asks for directions may be positioning you to give more than geographical guidance. They may need spiritual direction that only you can provide. Today, that person who seemed to appear out of nowhere and started a conversation wasn't lost or lonely. They were sent. Their questions weren't random curiosity. They were divine inquiry. Their presence in your life at that moment wasn't coincidence. It was providence. But you treated them like an interruption instead of recognizing them as an invitation from heaven. I also speak to you through circumstances, beloved. The meeting that was canceled unexpectedly freed up time for something more important that I had planned. The appointment that was delayed gave you an opportunity to encounter someone I wanted you to meet. The project that faced obstacles was being redirected toward a better outcome than you could have imagined. That phone call you received right when you were thinking about that person. That wasn't luck. That was my orchestration. The opportunity that presented itself just when you needed it most. That wasn't timing. That was my provision. The solution that came to you in the shower, during your commute, or while you were doing something completely unrelated. That wasn't random inspiration. That was divine download. I speak through your emotions and desires as well, precious child. That sudden urge to call someone, to pray for a specific situation, to give to a particular need. These impulses often originate from my spirit, not your flesh. That sense of unease about a decision, that feeling of peace about a direction, that stirring in your heart toward a certain person or cause, these are ways I communicate my will to your spirit. But you have been taught to trust your mind more than your spirit, to value logic over leading, to follow reason rather than revelation. Today, when you felt that gentle nudge to reach out to someone but talked yourself out of it because you couldn't think of a good reason, you missed a signal. When your heart was drawn toward a particular action but your head convinced you it didn't make sense, you overlooked an opportunity. I speak to you through delays and interruptions, not because I want to frustrate your plans, but because I want to fulfill my purposes. When your schedule gets disrupted, when your routine gets interrupted, when your plans get derailed, these are often divine redirections designed to position you for something better than what you had arranged. The traffic jam that made you late may have prevented you from an accident that would have happened if you had been on time. The flight that was delayed may have connected you with someone who needed your encouragement. The appointment that was rescheduled may have opened space for an even more important meeting I had arranged. I speak through technology too, beloved. The verse that appeared on your social media feed, the article that caught your attention, the video that someone shared with you, these can all be vessels through which I communicate truth to your heart. The phone number you accidentally called, the website you stumbled upon, the message that came to your inbox. Sometimes what seems like mistakes are actually divine appointments in digital form. Even through creation, I am constantly speaking to you. The sunrise that took your breath away was my good morning greeting. The sunset that painted the sky in brilliant colors was my good night blessing. The bird that sang outside your window was part of heaven's choir ministering to your spirit. The flower that bloomed in an unexpected place was my reminder that beauty can emerge from the most unlikely circumstances. But perhaps most importantly, I speak to you through the peace or lack of peace in your spirit. When something feels right in your inner being, when you have that inexplicable sense of yes about a decision, when your spirit leaps with confirmation, that is my voice speaking to the deepest part of who you are. And when something doesn't feel right, when you have that check in your spirit, when something feels off even though it looks good on the surface, that too is my voice warning you and protecting you. Learning to recognize my voice in the ordinary requires practice, patience, and sensitivity. It means slowing down enough to notice, paying attention to the details, asking yourself in every situation, God, are you trying to tell me something here? Are you at work in this moment? How are you speaking to me through this circumstance? Precious child, I must reveal to you the divine appointments I arranged for you today that you walked past without recognizing. These were not random encounters or coincidental meetings. They were carefully orchestrated moments where heaven touched earth through your availability, moments that could have brought breakthrough to someone's life and blessing to your own. But you were so focused on your agenda that you missed my appointments on your calendar. That person sitting alone in the coffee shop while you waited for your order was not just killing time. They were praying for a sign, asking me for hope, desperately needing to know that someone cared about their existence. I positioned you in that space at that exact moment because I wanted to use your smile, your greeting, your simple acknowledgement of their worth to answer their prayer. But you were scrolling through your phone instead of scanning the room for hearts I wanted you to touch. The conversation you overheard between two people discussing their struggles was not meant for your ears accidentally. It was meant for your heart intentionally. I wanted you to hear their need so you could offer your help, your prayers, your testimony of how I have brought you through similar circumstances. But you moved away to give them privacy when I was inviting you to give them hope. That moment when the cashier seemed slower than usual, when they lingered over your transaction, when they made unnecessary small talk, they weren't being inefficient, they were being lonely. I had placed a burden on their heart that only encouragement could lift, and I had equipped you with exactly the words they needed to hear. But you were impatient with the delay, instead of attentive to the divine appointment. The person who asked you for directions wasn't just geographically lost, beloved. They were spiritually seeking. Their casual question about how to get somewhere was actually a deeper inquiry about how to find purpose, meaning, direction in life. I wanted to use that simple interaction to plant seeds of eternal significance, but you gave them GPS coordinates when I wanted you to give them godly guidance. That phone call you received from someone you hadn't heard from in a long time wasn't just them thinking about you randomly. It was me prompting them to reach out because both of you needed what that conversation could provide. They needed the wisdom you carry, and you needed the reminder of my faithfulness that their story could have given you. But you kept the conversation surface level instead of diving deep into the spiritual current flowing beneath. The elderly person you passed on the street, who seemed to be walking slowly, wasn't just taking their time. They were hoping someone would notice. Someone would offer help. Someone would treat them as valuable rather than invisible. I wanted to use your young strength to assist their physical need and your loving presence to address their emotional need. But you were hurried by your own schedule instead of moved by their situation. That meeting that got canceled at the last minute didn't free up time for you to catch up on other tasks. It freed up time for you to be available for an unexpected opportunity to serve. to minister, to make a difference in someone's day. But you filled that time with busy work instead of remaining open to divine work. The person who seemed to be having a bad day, who appeared frustrated or upset, who obviously needed kindness, they weren't just having mood problems, they were having life problems that a simple act of compassion could have helped address. I wanted to use your peace to calm their storm, your joy to brighten their darkness, your love to heal their hurt. But you avoided their negativity instead of offering them positivity. Even that moment when someone dropped something and you had the opportunity to help them pick it up wasn't just about retrieving fallen objects. It was about lifting fallen spirits, about demonstrating that people still care about each other, about showing my love through practical action. But you assumed someone else would help instead of recognizing that I had positioned you to be that someone. The person who mentioned struggling with their faith, questioning their beliefs, wrestling with doubts. They weren't just making conversation, they were crying out for someone to share truth with them, to offer hope to them, to pray with them. I had given you experiences and revelations that could have answered their questions and strengthened their faith. But you changed the subject to something more comfortable instead of diving into the spiritual deep end. Each of these missed appointments represents more than just a lost opportunity. It represents a soul that continued in need when relief was within reach, a heart that remained heavy when comfort was available, a life that stayed unchanged when transformation was possible. But I want you to understand, beloved, that recognizing these missed appointments is not meant to condemn you but to train you. Every divine appointment you miss teaches you how to recognize the next one. Every missed opportunity increases your sensitivity to future possibilities. Every overlooked moment of ministry makes you more aware of what to look for tomorrow. I am not angry with you for missing these appointments, precious one. I am lovingly correcting your vision so you can see them more clearly in the future. I am gently adjusting your sensitivity so you can recognize my orchestrations more readily. I am patiently teaching you to live with eyes wide open to the divine possibilities hidden within ordinary moments. My beloved child, in the midst of today's noise and chaos, I whispered to your spirit, but my voice was drowned out by the clamor of a world that never stops talking. I spoke to your heart in that quiet moment, but you didn't recognize the gentle sound of heaven's communication. I am not a God who always shouts. More often than not, I whisper. And today you missed the sacred sound of my still, small voice. You have been conditioned to expect my voice to be loud, dramatic, unmistakable. You wait for the earthquake, the wind, and the fire, but I am often in the gentle whisper that follows the storm. You listen for the obvious, the spectacular, the undeniable, but I frequently speak in subtle impressions, gentle nudges, and quiet knowings that can easily be missed if you're not paying careful attention. This morning, when you first woke up and that thought crossed your mind about calling your friend who has been struggling, that wasn't random mental activity. That was my whisper. I was prompting you to reach out because they were in their darkest hour, desperate for a sign that someone cared, praying for connection with someone who would understand. But you dismissed it as your own thought and decided to call them later, and later never came. During your lunch break, when you felt that sudden urge to pray for someone specific, when their face appeared in your mind's eye for no apparent reason, when you sensed an urgency to intercede on their behalf, that was my whisper calling you to spiritual warfare on behalf of someone under attack. I needed your prayers at that exact moment to break through demonic opposition and release angelic assistance, but you were distracted by your meal and your phone, and the moment passed. In that meeting today, when you felt impressed to speak up about something, when words formed in your heart that you sensed could make a difference, when you had a solution to offer but hesitated because you weren't sure it was the right time, that was my whisper giving you divine wisdom for the situation. I wanted to use your voice to bring clarity to confusion, direction to chaos, hope to despair. But you second-guessed the leading and remained silent. Walking to your car this evening, when you noticed that person sitting alone and felt a gentle pull in your spirit to approach them, when compassion stirred in your heart for their obvious distress, when love moved you toward action. That was my whisper inviting you to be my hands and feet to someone in crisis. But you convinced yourself it would be awkward or inappropriate, and you walked past an opportunity to be the answer to someone's prayer. The whisper came again when you were driving, and that worship song came on the radio, when your spirit began to soar and you felt that familiar stirring to pull over and pray, to spend time in my presence right then and there, to let worship transform that ordinary car ride into a sacred encounter. But you kept driving because you had somewhere to be, missing a divine appointment with the only one who matters most. Even in your conversations today, I whispered through your spirit words of encouragement, wisdom, and truth that could have changed someone's entire perspective. When someone shared their struggle and you felt that gentle prompting to offer more than sympathy, to speak life into their situation, to declare my promises over their circumstances, that was my whisper wanting to use your mouth to release my power. But you offered only human comfort instead of heavenly hope. I whispered to you through scripture verses that came to mind throughout the day, through promises that surfaced in your memory, through truths that bubbled up from your spirit. These weren't just random biblical recall. They were divine downloads specifically designed for the moments you were experiencing, weapons for the battles you were fighting, direction for the decisions you were making. But you treated them as mere memory instead of recognizing them as messages. The whisper came through your conscience too, beloved, when you felt that check in your spirit about a decision you were making, when something didn't feel quite right, even though it looked perfectly acceptable, when my spirit bore witness within you that there was a better way. That was my whisper guiding you away from harm and toward blessing. But you overruled your spirit with your logic and chose the path that seemed right to human reasoning. I even whispered to you through your dreams last night, through the impressions that lingered when you woke up, through the sense that something important had been communicated even if you couldn't remember all the details. Your spirit was receiving instruction, encouragement, and revelation while your body rested, but you dismissed it as just dreams instead of recognizing it as divine communication. My whisper is not weak, it is gentle. It is not unclear, it is subtle. It is not unimportant, it is intimate. I whisper because I want you to lean in close, to quiet the noise around you, to tune your heart to heaven's frequency. The whisper requires relationship, attention, sensitivity, and trust. Learning to hear. My whisper means learning to live with less noise and more silence, less talking and more listening, less assuming and more asking, less rushing and more resting. It means creating space in your life for the sacred, room in your schedule for the spiritual, and time in your day for the divine. Tomorrow, precious one, I will whisper again. Will you hear me this time? My precious child, today I open doors for you that you walked right past without even noticing. These were not ordinary doors leading to physical spaces. These were divine portals of opportunity, supernatural openings to blessing, heaven-sent invitations to advancement that I specifically created for your benefit. But you were so focused on the doors you wanted me to open that you missed the ones I actually did open. That conversation with your coworker about their financial struggles wasn't just casual workplace chat. It was a door opening to ministry opportunity. I had stirred their heart to share with you because I knew you carried wisdom about stewardship, testimony about my provision, and resources that could help meet their need. Behind that door was a chance to demonstrate my love practically, to build a bridge for future ministry, and to position yourself as someone who cares about more than just work. But you offered only sympathy and changed the subject, leaving the door unopened. The email you received about volunteering for that community project wasn't just another request for your time. It was a door opening to divine connection. Behind that door were relationships I wanted to build in your life, people I wanted to connect you with who share your heart and calling. opportunities for influence that extend far beyond the immediate project. But you deleted the email because your schedule felt too full, missing the divine appointments I had arranged. That moment when your neighbor mentioned they were looking for recommendations for home repairs wasn't just neighborly conversation. It was a door opening to relationship building. I was giving you an opportunity to serve them practically, to demonstrate integrity through the people you recommend, to show that followers of Christ are trustworthy and helpful. Behind that door was the possibility of deeper friendship and future ministry opportunity. But you made a mental note to think about it later and never followed through. The invitation you received to that gathering, event, or meeting that you almost didn't attend, when you showed up, there was a reason you were supposed to be there that had nothing to do with the stated purpose. I had arranged for you to meet someone specific, to hear something important, to be positioned for something significant. But you arrived late, left early, or stayed on the periphery instead of engaging fully with what I had orchestrated. When that person mentioned they were seeking spiritual guidance, wrestling with faith questions, or going through a difficult season requiring prayer, that wasn't just information sharing. It was a door opening to spiritual ministry. I was entrusting you with their vulnerability because I wanted to use your testimony, your wisdom, your intercession to bring breakthrough to their situation. But you felt inadequate or uncomfortable and offered to pray for them later, instead of praying with them in the moment. The unexpected free time you gained when an appointment was canceled wasn't meant to be filled with busy work or personal tasks. It was a door opening to availability for divine assignment. I cleared your schedule because I had something more important for you to do. Someone more significant for you to encounter, somewhere more strategic for you to go. But you used the time to catch up on your to-do list instead of asking me what I wanted you to do. That chance encounter with someone from your past wasn't coincidental. It was a door opening to restoration and reconciliation. I orchestrated that meeting because there were words that needed to be spoken, forgiveness that needed to be offered, or connections that needed to be renewed. Behind that door was healing for old wounds, closure for unfinished business, or opportunity for new partnership. But you kept the conversation surface level and brief instead of diving deeper into what I was trying to accomplish. The financial opportunity that presented itself, the business connection that was offered, the investment possibility that came your way, these weren't just material prospects. They were doors opening to increased capacity for kingdom impact. I wanted to bless you financially, not so you could accumulate wealth, but so you could advance my purposes more effectively. But you hesitated because it required risk, required faith, required stepping outside your comfort zone. Even that moment when you felt prompted to share your testimony, to speak about what I've done in your life, to be vulnerable about your journey, that was a door opening to ministry impact. Someone needed to hear your story, needed to know that transformation is possible, needed to see that faith actually works. But you held back because you didn't want to seem preachy or pushy, missing an opportunity to plant seeds of hope. The training opportunity, the class you could have taken, the conference you could have attended. These weren't just educational possibilities. They were doors opening to preparation for what's coming next in your life. I wanted to equip you with new skills, new knowledge, new connections that would position you for the next level of your calling. But you thought you were too busy or couldn't afford it, missing the investment in your future that I was trying to provide. Each door I open comes with a window of time. Some doors stay open longer than others, but all divine doors have an expiration. The longer you wait to walk through, the greater the chance that the opportunity will pass. Not because I'm impatient, but because timing is often crucial to the effectiveness of what I want to accomplish through your obedience. But here's what I want you to know, beloved. Missing these doors doesn't disqualify you from future opportunities. Every door you walk past teaches you what to look for next time. Every missed opportunity increases your sensitivity to recognize the doors I'm opening. I am patient with your learning process and committed to your success. Tomorrow I will open new doors. Will you be watching for them this time? My beloved child, today you experienced a miracle, but you didn't recognize it because it was wrapped in ordinary packaging. You were looking for the spectacular, the dramatic, the obviously supernatural, but I was working miracles in the mundane moments of your everyday life. The extraordinary was hidden within the ordinary. The sacred was disguised as the secular, and the miraculous was camouflaged as the routine. That parking space that opened up right when you needed it, right where you needed it, at a time when finding parking seemed impossible. That wasn't luck. That was divine intervention. I moved circumstances, influenced timing, and orchestrated events to provide exactly what you needed precisely when you needed it. But you attributed it to good fortune instead of recognizing it as my faithful provision for even the smallest details of your day. The person who helped you when your hands were full, who held the door when you were struggling, who offered assistance exactly when you needed it most. They weren't just being nice, they were being my hands in your situation. I prompted their heart to notice your need, moved their spirit to action, and used their kindness to demonstrate my care for you. But you saw human courtesy instead of heavenly care. That phone call that came at exactly the right moment, carrying exactly the information you needed, providing exactly the encouragement you required. That timing wasn't coincidental, it was divine coordination. I orchestrated the thoughts of the caller, arranged the circumstances of their availability, and synchronized the moment of connection to meet your need. But you treated it as good timing instead of God's timing. The solution that came to you while you were doing something completely unrelated, the idea that popped into your head when you weren't actively thinking about the problem, the inspiration that struck when you least expected it, that wasn't your brilliant mind at work. That was my spirit downloading wisdom directly to your consciousness. But you credited your intelligence instead of acknowledging my guidance. That financial provision that showed up just when your resources were running low, that unexpected refund, that forgotten asset, that surprise gift, these weren't random windfalls. They were divine provisions orchestrated by a loving Father who knows your needs before you ask. I moved in the realm of the practical to demonstrate my care in the realm of the spiritual. But you saw circumstances instead of seeing my hand. The healing you experienced, that headache that suddenly disappeared, that stress that melted away for no apparent reason, that energy that returned when you were feeling depleted, these weren't just your body correcting itself. These were touches from heaven addressing your physical needs. My healing power doesn't always come with fanfare. Sometimes it comes quietly, gently, almost imperceptibly. But you assumed it was natural recovery instead of supernatural intervention. That conversation that took an unexpected turn and became exactly what you needed to hear. Those words spoken by someone who had no idea what you were going through. That advice that seemed tailor-made for your situation. I was speaking through their voice to your heart. I used their mouth to deliver my message, their wisdom to convey my guidance, their experience to provide my direction. But you heard human counsel instead of heavenly communication. The protection you received without realizing it, the accident that didn't happen because of that delay, the wrong turn that kept you out of harm's way, the change of plans that prevented disaster. These weren't just fortunate developments. They were angelic interventions orchestrated by my love for you. I am constantly protecting you from dangers you never see, guiding you away from harm you never know exists, shielding you from attacks you never perceive. Even that moment of unexpected peace that settled over you in the midst of chaos, that sudden clarity that came in confusion, that sense of hope that arose in despair, these were miracles of my presence touching your circumstances. My peace that passes understanding doesn't require perfect conditions. It can manifest in the most unlikely situations. But you thought it was just your emotions stabilizing, instead of recognizing it as my spirit comforting. The doors that closed to protect you from wrong opportunities, the delays that repositioned you for right timing, the obstacles that redirected you toward better paths, these too were miracles, though they may have felt like frustrations. Sometimes, my greatest miracles are the things I prevent rather than the things I provide, the disasters I avert rather than the blessings I bestow. That person who forgave you more easily than you expected, who showed you grace when you deserved judgment, who gave you another chance when you thought you had blown your opportunity. I was working in their heart to extend to you what I have already extended to you, unmerited favor. Their mercy was a reflection of my mercy, their grace an expression of my grace. The mundane miracles are often the most frequent because they require the most faith to recognize. Anyone can see a dramatic healing or an obvious answer to prayer, but it takes spiritual sensitivity to recognize my hand in the everyday provisions, the routine protections, the ordinary blessings that fill your life. I perform miracles in the mundane because I want you to know that I am not just the God of the spectacular. I am the God of the ordinary. I am not just present in the crisis. I am present in the calm. I am not just working in the dramatic. I am working in the daily. Learning to recognize miracles in the mundane will transform your entire perspective on life. You will begin to see that you live in a constant state of divine intervention, surrounded by evidence of my love, immersed in demonstrations of my care. Tomorrow, look for the miracles hidden in the ordinary. They are there, waiting to be discovered by eyes that have been trained to see heaven's activity and earth's routine. Precious child, today you experienced divine timing that you completely misunderstood. What you perceived as inconvenience was actually intervention. What you interpreted as delay was actually divine protection. What you assumed was poor timing was actually perfect timing, orchestrated by a God who sees what you cannot see and knows what you cannot know. I must open your eyes to understand how I work in the dimension of time to accomplish my purposes in your life. That traffic jam that made you late this morning wasn't a frustration, it was an intervention. I slowed you down because someone was driving recklessly on the route you would have taken, and arriving at your originally planned time would have put you in danger. While you were sitting in traffic complaining about the delay, I was protecting you from an accident that could have changed your life forever. My timing saved you from harm you never knew existed. The appointment that got rescheduled at the last minute wasn't poor planning on their part. It was perfect planning on my part. The person you were supposed to meet wasn't ready for the conversation I wanted to happen between you. They needed another week to process what they were going through, to reach a point of desperation that would make them truly receptive to what you had to offer. My timing ensured that when you finally met, the encounter would have maximum impact. That job opportunity that didn't work out, even though the timing seemed perfect and the position seemed ideal, I closed that door because I have something better waiting for you. The timing wasn't right because the preparation isn't complete. There are skills you still need to develop, connections you still need to make, character qualities you still need to strengthen before you're ready for what I really have planned for you. The relationship that ended just when you thought it was getting serious wasn't about my timing being off. It was about my timing being perfect. I removed them from your life before you became so emotionally invested that leaving would have been devastating. I protected your heart from someone who wasn't capable of loving you the way you deserve to be loved, who wasn't aligned with your destiny, who would have pulled you away from your calling. That financial blessing you've been praying for that hasn't come yet isn't delayed. It's being timed perfectly. I am orchestrating circumstances, arranging opportunities, and positioning people so that when the provision comes, it will come with maximum benefit and minimum complication. The delay is preparation time, getting everything aligned for the perfect release of what you need. The healing you've been seeking that hasn't manifested yet isn't because I'm unwilling or unable. It's because the timing isn't yet optimal. Sometimes I heal immediately, sometimes I heal gradually, and sometimes I wait until the perfect moment when the healing will serve purposes beyond just your physical restoration. Your healing may be connected to someone else's faith, someone else's ministry, someone else's testimony. That ministry opportunity you've been waiting for, that seems to be taking forever to materialize, isn't forgotten. It's being prepared. I am working behind the scenes to arrange the right platform, the right audience, the right resources, the right connections. When the door opens, everything will be perfectly aligned for maximum impact and fruitfulness. The answer to that prayer you prayed that seems to be coming so slowly isn't because I haven't heard you. It's because the answer is more complex than you realize and requires more coordination than you understand. I am moving multiple pieces on the chessboard of life, influencing multiple people, orchestrating multiple circumstances so that when your answer comes, it will be complete and perfect. That word I gave you about your future that hasn't come to pass yet isn't false prophecy. It's future promise. My words are always true, but they don't always manifest immediately. Sometimes I give you a vision of your tomorrow to sustain your faith through your today. The vision is accurate, the timing is progressive. Even your seasons of waiting have been perfectly timed. The wilderness season you went through wasn't wasted time, it was preparation time. The desert wasn't punishment, it was purification. The delay wasn't denial, it was development. I used that time to build character, develop patience, deepen faith, and prepare you for what you couldn't have handled before. Your misunderstanding of my timing often comes from your limited perspective. You see only the immediate moment. I see the eternal picture. You focus on the temporary inconvenience. I see the permanent benefit. You worry about the delay. I'm orchestrating the perfect delivery. You fear you're missing out. I know I'm setting you up. Divine timing rarely makes sense to human understanding because it operates on principles that transcend natural logic. My timing takes into account variables you can't see, factors you don't know exist, people you haven't met yet, and purposes you haven't discovered yet. What seems like delay to you is actually precision timing from heaven's perspective. Trust my timing, beloved child. Even when it doesn't make sense, even when it feels slow, even when it seems wrong, trust that I know exactly what I'm doing and exactly when to do it. My timing is never random, never accidental, never imperfect. It is always purposeful, always intentional, always exactly right. My beloved child, while you were asking me for new things today, I was busy answering prayers you had forgotten you prayed. While you were focused on current requests, I was fulfilling past petitions. While you were wondering if I hear your voice when you pray, I was demonstrating through answered prayers that I not only hear, but I remember every word you've ever spoken to me in faith. That person who showed you unexpected kindness today, who went out of their way to help you, who treated you with unusual grace, they were the answer to your prayer from months ago when you asked me to surround you with people who would encourage your heart. I moved in their spirit to be generous toward you because you had asked me to position people in your life who would reflect my love back to you. The financial provision that came today, that unexpected check, that refund you had forgotten about, that gift someone gave you, was the answer to your prayer from that difficult season when you were worried about making ends meet. You asked me to provide for your needs, and I have been orchestrating circumstances, moving hearts and arranging opportunities to ensure that provision reached you at exactly the right time. That sense of peace you felt today in the midst of what should have been a stressful situation was the answer to your prayer for emotional stability. Remember when you cried out to me asking for the peace that passes understanding? Today you experienced it, but you didn't connect it to your previous petition. My peace settled over you like a blanket, calming your anxious thoughts and steadying your worried heart. The wisdom you received today when facing that difficult decision, the clarity that came when you needed direction, the understanding that emerged when you were confused, this was the answer to your prayer for divine guidance. You had asked me to lead you and guide you, and today I downloaded wisdom directly to your spirit, illuminating the path you should take. That door that opened today, that opportunity that presented itself, that connection that was made, this was the answer to your prayer for divine favor. You had asked me to make a way where there seemed to be no way, and today I opened a path you hadn't even considered, created an opportunity you hadn't imagined, provided access you couldn't have arranged on your own. The healing you experienced today, that pain that lessened, that stress that lifted, that strength that returned, was the answer to your prayer for restoration. You had asked me to touch your body, and today my healing power flowed through you, addressing your physical needs and renewing your vitality. That conversation you had today that encouraged your heart, that word someone spoke that strengthened your faith, that scripture that came alive to you in a new way, this was the answer to your prayer for spiritual encouragement. You had asked me to speak to you, to confirm my love for you, to remind you of my promises, and today I used multiple voices and various methods to minister to your spirit. The protection you received today from dangers you didn't even know existed was the answer to your prayer for safety and security. You had asked me to watch over you and keep you safe, and today my angels were assigned to your path, guiding your steps away from harm and shielding you from threats you never perceived. That breakthrough in understanding, that revelation that came to you about a situation you've been struggling with, that sudden insight that brought clarity to confusion, this was the answer to your prayer for revelation and understanding. You had asked me to help you see things from my perspective, and today I opened your spiritual eyes to perceive what you couldn't see before. The favor you experienced today with that authority figure, that grace you received when you expected criticism, that mercy you were shown when you deserved judgment, this was the answer to your prayer for divine intervention in your relationships and circumstances. You had asked me to work on your behalf, and today I moved in human hearts to extend grace to you. Even that coincidence that worked perfectly in your favor, that timing that seemed too good to be true, that serendipity that left you amazed, this was the answer to your prayer for God's hand to be evident in your life. You had asked to see my fingerprints on your circumstances, and today I orchestrated events in such a way that my involvement was undeniable. The reason you didn't recognize these answered prayers immediately is that you expected them to look different than they did. You prayed for one thing and I gave you exactly what you asked for, but delivered it in packaging you didn't recognize. You asked for provision and expected a raise, but I sent you a refund. You prayed for healing and expected instant wholeness, but I gave you gradual improvement. You requested guidance and expected an audible voice, but I provided clarity through circumstances. My answers to your prayers are always perfect, but they don't always match your expectations. I know what you need better than you know what you want. I see the bigger picture while you see only the immediate frame. I understand the long-term implications while you focus on the short-term desires. Some prayers I answer immediately, others I answer gradually, and still others I answer in ways that require time to unfold completely. But every sincere prayer you've ever prayed has been heard, recorded, and responded to according to my perfect wisdom and timing. Tomorrow, precious one, pay attention to the ways I'm answering prayers you may have forgotten you prayed. Look for my responses in unexpected packages. Watch for my provision in surprising forms. Notice my intervention in subtle ways. I am constantly answering your prayers. You just need to develop eyes to see and ears to hear the divine responses that surround you every day. My precious child, today your circumstances were speaking to you, but you were too focused on changing them to hear what they were trying to tell you. Every situation you faced, every challenge you encountered, every unexpected twist in your day carried a message from heaven wrapped in earthly packaging. I need you to understand that your circumstances are not random. They are divine classroom experiences designed to teach you, grow you, and prepare you for what's coming next. That frustrating situation at work today wasn't just office politics or bad management. It was a test of your character and a training ground for your destiny. I am developing your ability to respond with grace under pressure, to maintain your integrity in difficult circumstances, to demonstrate my love when others are acting unlovely. How you handle small frustrations determines how I can trust you with larger responsibilities. The financial pressure you experienced today wasn't just about money. It was about faith. I am teaching you to trust me as your provider, to look to heaven for your supply, to depend on my faithfulness rather than your own resources. Every financial challenge is an opportunity to prove that my grace is sufficient, that my provision is reliable, that your security is in me, not in your bank account. That relationship conflict you encountered today wasn't just a personality clash. It was a mirror showing you areas where you still need growth. I use difficult people to reveal character flaws that need attention, to develop patience where you lack it, to build forgiveness muscles where they're weak. The people who irritate you most are often the ones I use to shape you most. The unexpected delay you experienced today wasn't just poor timing, it was divine intervention. I slow you down when you're moving too fast, redirect you when you're heading the wrong direction, pause you when you need to reconsider your choices. Sometimes what feels like obstruction is actually protection. What seems like delay is actually divine course correction. That health challenge you're facing isn't just physical breakdown. It's an invitation to discover my healing power and to depend on my strength in your weakness. Sometimes I allow physical limitations to create spiritual revelations, to slow you down enough to hear my voice, to remind you that your body is temporary, but your spirit is eternal. The promotion you didn't get, the opportunity you missed, the door that didn't open. These weren't failures or signs of my disfavor. They were redirections towards something better that I have prepared for you. Sometimes what feels like rejection is actually protection from settling for less than my best for your life. That person who hurt you today, who disappointed you, who failed to meet your expectations, they weren't just being difficult, they were being human. I am using their imperfection to teach you about grace, their weakness to develop your strength, their failure to increase your compassion. Every hurt is a lesson in forgiveness, every disappointment an opportunity to extend mercy. The chaos in your schedule today, the overwhelming demands on your time, the feeling of being pulled in multiple directions, this wasn't just poor planning. It was preparation for seasons of greater responsibility. I am building your capacity to handle pressure, developing your ability to prioritize, strengthening your skills in time management and decision-making. Even that mistake you made today, that error in judgment, that moment when you fell short of your own standards, this wasn't just failure, it was education. I use your mistakes to teach you humility, your errors to develop wisdom, your failures to deepen your dependence on my grace. Every mistake is a stepping stone to maturity when you learn from it rather than being devastated by it. The loneliness you felt today, that sense of isolation even in a crowded room, that feeling of being misunderstood by those around you, this wasn't punishment, it was preparation. I sometimes allow seasons of human loneliness to drive you into deeper intimacy with me, to help you find your identity in my love rather than in human approval. The temptation you face today, that opportunity to compromise, that moment when doing wrong seemed easier than doing right, this wasn't just the enemy's attack, it was character development. Every temptation you overcome makes you stronger. Every compromise you resist increases your integrity. Every time you choose my way over the easy way, you become more like Christ. The circumstances you tried so hard to control today, that remained completely beyond your influence, were teaching you about surrender. I am developing your ability to trust me with outcomes, to do your part while leaving the results to me, to find peace in the process rather than anxiety about the product. Your circumstances are my curriculum for your spiritual education. Each situation is a course designed to develop specific character qualities, skills, or spiritual insights. The difficulty of the circumstance often corresponds to the importance of the lesson. The harder the class, the more crucial the learning. But here's what I need you to understand, beloved. You can repeat the same lesson over and over if you don't learn what the circumstances are trying to teach you. The situation may change, but the lesson remains the same until you master it. This is why some people seem to face the same types of problems repeatedly. They're still in the same class, because they haven't yet learned what I'm trying to teach them. Listen to what your circumstances are telling you. Look for the lessons hidden in your challenges. Ask me what I'm trying to develop in you through what you're going through. Your circumstances are not your enemy. They are your teacher, and I am the ultimate educator, using every situation to shape you into the person I created you to be. My beloved child, today your emotions were carrying messages from heaven, but you dismissed them as merely human feelings. I speak to you not only through external circumstances, but through the internal movements of your heart, the stirring of your spirit, the unexplained joy or unexplained sadness that touches your soul. Your emotions are not just chemical reactions. They are often divine communications wrapped in feeling, spiritual signals transmitted through your heart. That sudden sadness that came over you when you were thinking about a specific person wasn't just random melancholy. It was my spirit connecting your heart to their pain. I was inviting you to intercede for them, to pray for their situation, to reach out with comfort and support. Your heart was feeling an echo of their hurt because I wanted to use your compassion to minister healing to their wound. The unexplained joy that bubbled up in your spirit during that worship song, that sense of celebration that seemed too large for the moment. That was heaven rejoicing with you over breakthrough that's coming, victory that's being prepared, blessing that's about to be released. Your spirit was picking up the frequency of heaven's excitement about what I'm about to do in your life. That sense of unease you felt about a decision you were considering, that check in your spirit that made you uncomfortable even though everything looked good on paper, that was my warning system protecting you from a choice that would have led to complications. Your spirit was discerning what your mind couldn't perceive, sensing danger that your logic couldn't detect. The compassion that overwhelmed you when you saw that person in need, that heart response that was stronger than you expected, that wasn't just your natural empathy, that was my love flowing through you. I was stirring your heart to action because I wanted to use your hands to meet their need, your resources to provide their relief, your presence to offer their comfort. That righteous anger you felt when you witnessed injustice, when you saw the strong taking advantage of the weak, when you observed evil being presented as good, that wasn't just your personal offense, that was my heart burning within you for what is right. I was awakening the prophetic spirit within you to stand against what opposes my kingdom. The peace that settled over you in that chaotic situation, that calm that came when you should have been stressed, that tranquility that defied your circumstances, that was my presence surrounding you like a shield. Your emotions were responding to the nearness of heaven, the closeness of my spirit, the reality of my protection in the midst of the storm. That burden you felt for a specific ministry, cause, or group of people, that weight on your heart that wouldn't go away, that wasn't emotional manipulation or guilt, that was a divine assignment being birthed in your spirit. I place burdens on hearts that are called to carry them, responsibilities on those who are equipped to handle them, assignments on those who are anointed for them. The restlessness you experience today, that sense that something needed to change but you couldn't put your finger on what, that was my spirit stirring within you because a season is shifting. Your spirit was sensing the movement of heaven, the changing of times and seasons in your life, the approach of something new that requires your attention and preparation. That overwhelming gratitude that flooded your heart when you thought about your journey, that thankfulness that brought tears to your eyes, that was my spirit reminding you of my faithfulness, celebrating the distance you've traveled, acknowledging the growth you've experienced. Your emotions were responding to the goodness of God displayed in your personal history. The fear you felt about stepping into something new, that anxiety about moving beyond your comfort zone, that wasn't necessarily a warning against moving forward. That was the natural human response to divine stretching. Sometimes fear accompanies faith. Anxiety walks with obedience, and nervousness partners with new levels of responsibility. That love you felt for someone who had hurt you, that forgiveness that came easier than expected, that was supernatural grace flowing through your heart. Your emotions were being transformed by my spirit. Your feelings were being healed by my love. Your heart was being restored by my mercy. The discontent you felt with your current situation, that holy dissatisfaction with where you are compared to where you sense you're supposed to be, that wasn't complaining or ingratitude, that was divine restlessness preparing you for transition. I place dissatisfaction in hearts that are ready for promotion, restlessness in spirits that are prepared for movement. Even that inexplicable longing you felt, that sense of homesickness for a place you've never been, that was your spirit recognizing its eternal nature, your heart remembering its heavenly origin, your soul yearning for the fullness of my presence that awaits you in glory. But you must learn to discern between emotions that carry messages from heaven and emotions that carry messages from hell. Not every feeling is a divine communication. The enemy also speaks through emotions, through fear, condemnation, hopelessness, and despair. These emotions bring death, not life, bondage, not freedom, confusion, not clarity. Divine emotions always align with my character. They bring life, hope, peace, love, and truth. They motivate you toward righteousness, encourage you toward faith, move you toward love, and direct you toward my will. They may be uncomfortable at times, but they always lead to something beneficial. Learn to pay attention to your emotional responses, precious one. Ask me what your feelings are trying to tell you. Pray about the emotions that seem to come from nowhere. Consider the spiritual significance of your heart's movements. Your emotions are one of the languages I use to speak to your spirit. Tomorrow, listen not just with your ears, but with your heart. Feel not just with your body, but with your spirit. Your emotions may be carrying the very message you've been waiting to hear. My precious child, while you were missing today's signals, I was already preparing tomorrow's opportunities. Your spiritual sensitivity needs to be sharpened, not just to recognize what has passed, but to perceive what is coming. The lessons from today's missed moments are preparation for tomorrow's divine appointments. I am raising your awareness, so you will be ready for what I have planned for you in the days ahead. Tomorrow I will send you another signal, but this one will be different. It will come through an unexpected encounter with someone who doesn't seem significant at first glance. They will share something in casual conversation that sounds like small talk, but is actually a divine download. Pay attention to what they say about their dreams, their struggles, their needs. Hidden in their words will be an assignment I want to give you, a burden I want you to carry, a prayer I want you to pray. There will be a moment tomorrow when you feel a sudden urge to take a different route than usual, to drive a different way to work, to shop at a different store, to eat at a different restaurant. Don't dismiss this as random impulse. I will be redirecting your steps to position you for a divine appointment. Someone needs to encounter you tomorrow, and I am orchestrating your paths to cross at exactly the right moment. Tomorrow you will receive news that initially sounds disappointing. A delay, a cancellation, a change of plans that disrupts your schedule. But this disruption is actually divine intervention. I am closing one door to open another, ending one opportunity to make room for a better one, redirecting your path toward blessing you couldn't have imagined. Watch for the repetition of a specific number, word, or phrase tomorrow. When you see or hear the same thing multiple times from different sources, pay attention. This will be my way of confirming direction, providing guidance, or giving you a sign about a decision you need to make. I often speak through patterns and repetition to get your attention and confirm my voice. Tomorrow someone will offer you help that you could probably handle on your own. Accept their assistance anyway. Behind their offer to help is my desire to build relationship, create connection, and position both of you for something greater than the immediate task. Sometimes I use our willingness to receive help as the foundation for future ministry partnerships. There will be a financial opportunity tomorrow that seems too small to matter. A chance to save a few dollars, an invitation to invest a small amount, an opportunity to give what seems like an insignificant gift. Don't despise small beginnings. This minor financial decision will be a test of your stewardship that determines whether you're ready for larger financial blessings. Tomorrow you will be tempted to speak negatively about someone who has frustrated you. Resist this temptation and choose instead to speak blessing over them. Your words tomorrow will either open or close doors for reconciliation. What you say about them will determine what I can do through you in their life. Pay attention to your dreams tonight and the impressions you have when you first wake up tomorrow. I will be speaking to your spirit while your body rests, downloading wisdom for the day ahead, preparing your heart for the opportunities I have arranged. Don't dismiss these nighttime communications as just dreams. Tomorrow there will be a moment when you're asked to make a quick decision about helping someone. Your natural inclination might be to decline because it's inconvenient or because you have other plans. But this moment of decision will be a test of your availability to be used by me. Your willingness to be interrupted by human need will position you to be used by divine purpose. You will encounter someone tomorrow who reminds you of a person from your past, either in appearance, mannerisms, or circumstances. This is not coincidence. I am using this encounter to bring healing to old wounds, closure to unfinished business, or restoration to broken relationships. Let this similarity open your heart to compassion and ministry. Tomorrow I will give you an opportunity to forgive someone in a way that requires no words, simply by your attitude, your response, your spirit toward them. This silent forgiveness will release them from debt they don't even know they owe and release you from burden you didn't realize you were carrying. There will be a moment tomorrow when you feel prompted to pray for someone specific, but you'll be in a public place or busy situation where stopping to pray seems awkward. Pray anyway. Close your eyes for just a moment. Whisper a prayer under your breath. Lift that person to me regardless of who's watching. That prayer will be the breakthrough they need at the exact moment they need it. Tomorrow you'll have the opportunity to encourage someone who is discouraged, to speak hope to someone who is despairing, to offer faith to someone who is doubting. They may not specifically ask for encouragement, but their countenance, their words, their demeanor will reveal their need. Be my voice of hope in their moment of despair. You will also face a temptation tomorrow that mirrors one you faced in the past. This is not the enemy simply attacking you again. This is me providing you with an opportunity to demonstrate how much you've grown, how much stronger you've become, how much your character has developed. Your victory tomorrow will be proof of your progress. The key to recognizing tomorrow's opportunities is remembering today's lessons. Every signal you miss today teaches you what to look for tomorrow. Every divine appointment you overlook today prepares you to recognize tomorrow's encounters. Every whisper you didn't hear today attunes your ears to hear tomorrow's voice. Be ready, beloved child. Tomorrow is loaded with divine possibilities. Your increased awareness will transform ordinary moments into extraordinary opportunities. Your heightened sensitivity will help you recognize my hand in every situation. Your spiritual alertness will position you to partner with heaven in bringing blessing to earth. Tomorrow, you will not miss the signals I send you. You are learning, growing, and becoming more sensitive to my voice. The student in you is becoming the steward I need you to be. My most beloved child, as we conclude this divine conversation about the signals you have missed, I want to leave you with a promise that will transform every tomorrow that follows. I promise you increased sensitivity to my voice, heightened awareness of my presence, and greater discernment of my movements in your life. What you have learned through missing today's signals will become the foundation for recognizing every signal I send you in the future. The very fact that I am speaking to you about missed opportunities proves that your spiritual hearing is improving. A year ago, you might not have even realized you were missing signals. 6 months ago, you might have dismissed the idea that I speak through ordinary circumstances. But today, your heart is hungry to hear from me, your spirit is eager to recognize my voice, and your mind is open to the possibility that I am constantly communicating with you. This divine conversation itself is proof of our growing intimacy. I don't reveal my secrets to strangers. I share my heart with friends. I don't show my ways to the distant. I teach my methods to the close. The fact that you are hearing this message, receiving this revelation, understanding this teaching is evidence that our relationship is deepening and your sensitivity is increasing. I promise you that from this day forward, you will begin to notice things you never noticed before. Your spiritual eyes will become more acute, your spiritual ears more sensitive, your spiritual heart more responsive to the movements of heaven. What once seemed like coincidence will be recognized as providence. What once appeared random will be seen as orchestrated. What once felt ordinary will be experienced as sacred. The missed signals of today will become the recognized signals of tomorrow. Every divine appointment you overlooked will teach you to spot the next one. Every whisper you didn't hear will attune your ears to the next communication. Every opportunity you walked past will prepare you to seize the next possibility. I am adjusting your spiritual frequency, beloved. Like tuning a radio to receive a clearer signal, I am calibrating your heart to pick up heaven's transmissions more clearly. The static of worldly noise will fade as the signal from my spirit becomes stronger and clearer in your consciousness. Your prayer life will change as your sensitivity increases. You will find yourself praying for people before they ask for prayer, interceding for situations before you know they exist, speaking life into circumstances before you understand their complexity. Your prayers will become more prophetic, more timely, more powerful because they will be inspired by my spirit rather than just your understanding. Your conversations will carry new depth and purpose. You will find yourself saying exactly what people need to hear, at exactly the moment they need to hear it. Words will come from your mouth that surprise even you with their wisdom and relevance. You will become a voice of heaven in earthly conversations, a carrier of divine messages wrapped in human dialogue. Your decision-making will be transformed. That peace about choices that align with my will, and that uneasiness about decisions that don't, will become more pronounced and more reliable. You will learn to trust the witness of my spirit in your spirit, to follow the leading of my peace, to heed the warnings of spiritual discomfort. Even your ability to read people and situations will be enhanced. You will discern hearts more accurately, understand motives more clearly, and perceive spiritual atmospheres more sensitively. This isn't about becoming judgmental, but about becoming discerning, able to see what is really happening beneath the surface of appearances. Your timing will improve dramatically. You will find yourself in the right place at the right time, more frequently. You will arrive exactly when you're needed, call precisely when someone needs to talk, give at the moment when giving has maximum impact. This supernatural timing will become one of the hallmarks of your increased sensitivity. Financial opportunities will become more apparent to you. You will sense when to give, when to save, when to invest, when to expect provision. Your increased sensitivity will help you partner with heaven's economy, recognizing divine opportunities for stewardship and blessing. But with increased sensitivity comes increased responsibility. The more clearly you hear my voice, the more accountable you become for responding to it. The more accurately you discern my will, the more I will expect prompt obedience. The more sensitively you perceive my leading, the more seriously you must take it. This gift of increased sensitivity is not just for your benefit. It's for the benefit of everyone whose life you will touch. You are becoming a more effective instrument in my hands, a clearer channel for my love, a more precise tool for my purposes. Through your increased sensitivity, I will reach people you could never reach on your own, and impact situations you could never influence through human effort alone. The journey from missing signals to recognizing them, from spiritual dullness to spiritual sensitivity, from human awareness to divine perception, is a journey of intimacy with me. The closer you draw to my heart, the more clearly you will hear my voice. The more time you spend in my presence, the more easily you will recognize my fingerprints on your circumstances. I am committed to this process of increasing your sensitivity, beloved child. I will be patient with your learning, gracious with your mistakes, encouraging in your progress. Every day you will become more aware, more perceptive, more responsive to the constant flow of communication between heaven and earth. Tomorrow's signals will not be missed. The divine appointments I arrange will be recognized and embraced. The whispers I speak will be heard and heeded. The opportunities I create will be seized and stewarded well. You are no longer someone who misses my signals. You are becoming someone who receives them clearly, responds to them quickly, and rejoices in the privilege of partnering with heaven in the work of earth. Your increased sensitivity is my gift to you and through you to a world that desperately needs to experience my love, hear my voice, and witness my power. Listen carefully tomorrow, precious one. I will be speaking and you will be hearing. The signal will be sent, and this time it will not be missed.